if you have an interest in horses and love learning more about horses, the horse industry, teaching, or even managing your own horse business, then you're in the right place. We would love you to join us on our mission, which is to improve the lives of horses around the world through the education of riders, handlers, and trainers. So get comfortable, listen in, and enjoy.
This is another of our popular Listener's Choice interviews, which we're playing over the weekend. We've chosen the most popular interviews for you to select the Listener's Choice winner. If you're not sure how the Listener's Choice competition works, have a look at horsechats.com/choice for the rules and the leaderboard. If you have the same vision as International Horse College, which is to have a world where people safely appreciate, respect and enjoy their horses, and the horses appreciate, respect and enjoy their people, then have a look at their website, internationalhorsecollege.com. Registered Training Organisation 31352. Today I'd like to introduce you to Shirley Crawford. So Shirley's got an interesting story. She tried to commence riding when she was 3, and we'll hear a bit more about that later, and after several attempts ended up learning to ride, so started riding and learning to ride at the age of 27. So since then she's gone on, she's show jumped, evented, done dressage, as well as preconditioning and riding racehorses track work. So Shirley was a partner in Valiant Prospect, who a lot of people might know as a leading sire of Australian 2-year-old horses. She's also, from 2002 to 2014, caught 39 brumbies from Fraser Island. So those of you may remember that they were causing quite a lot of problem with erosion. They were eating out the foreshore grassland, very unpopular with the residents of Fraser Island with their ongoing problems. And also there was a bit of public safety there with the brumbies still being there and a lot of people being around all these brumbies but not knowing much about horses. Anyway, Shirley relocated all of these brumbies to the mainland over that 2-year period. She now lives on the side of the Great Dividing Range in an absolutely beautiful location north of Toowoomba and enjoys spending time riding. And there's something about an overnight ride, Shirley. I'll ask you about that a little bit later, but your favourite saying is safety first and safety always. Is that right?
Yes, that's correct. It's like if you don't keep yourself safe, keep your horse safe and the general public safe, you don't have a horse to ride.
Yep. Okay. Can you tell us a little bit about a time when this has been really important? It's either been followed or not been followed. Why is this your favourite subject? Or favourite quote? What's brought this on?
A number of reasons, but one that comes to mind, my vet who I'd had for like 20 odd years had come out with a story, of an unfortunate accident where the rider was killed. And he just said to me one day, Shirley, if I see you not wearing your helmet riding out in the forest, I won't come and treat your horses. So that was quite incentive. But also the number of times that you're riding through the forest and there's low-hanging branches and that helmet sure saved you getting a knock on the head.
Yep. Look, I think that's a great one, safety first and safety always. And I think these days when people are more aware about safety, a lot more people are following the whole, no ride, no helmet rule. Now, I've got that you tried to commence riding when you were 3. What was all that about?
That the older sister always got the ride first and she wouldn't let me get on. So.
Oh, no. How did that come about? So you had an introduction to horses?
Country girl, Western Queensland. You're always going to people's farms and they always have a nice quiet horse that people can ride. But my sister wasn't into sharing in those days. So.
How much older was she? Because you were 3. How old was she?
She was 18 months older than me, so enough to be, a little bit of a bit more knowledge than I did on how to stay on the horse.
Okay. I had a younger sister. I might have been the older bossy one, but I always think that I wanted to teach her everything that I knew. She's So that was mine. I suppose maybe she'd probably say that I was a bit bossy as well.
Yeah, well, we always, all of our siblings all say that my elder sister was the bossy one.
Yep. All right, now you ended up learning to ride, so you had several attempts. Anything else about a bossy older sister?
No, but when I was 15, my younger sister brought a friend around with a horse, lovely quiet horse, and I was allowed to get up bareback, no helmet, of course, not 40 years ago, and 50, anyway, was just too high up, and I was scared of heights, so got back down again.
Okay, so one ride when you were 15, but then you started to learn to ride when you were 27. That's a fair age for someone who didn't get the opportunity when they were 3, then was too scared when they were 15, scared of heights. What happened or what changed your mind at 27?
My children were learning to ride. It was an extremely well-managed, safe environment. It was an indoor school on trained horses with almost a foot of sawdust. So if you fell, you weren't going to hurt yourself, but you didn't fall anyway because it was well-trained horses and, cavalry officers who knew what they were doing.
So really an ideal way for people to learn to ride.
Ideal. If you so need that trained instructor with the trained horses.
Okay. All right. Now that you've done quite a lot with horses, what's your main area of expertise now?
I think because I didn't start till I was 27, I wouldn't say I was nervous, but you're very aware of sitting on such a large animal with so much power that I find a lot of people are nervous. They've had bad experiences. And so yes, I really think that my expertise is in helping those nervous riders of any age who has either had a bad experience or doesn't want to have a bad experience.
So that's good then, a little bit of been there, done that. So had you kept riding when you were 3 or even when you were 15, you might have developed the confidence, and then when you're old enough and experienced enough to start teaching, maybe you wouldn't have remembered being nervous and lacking confidence, so you wouldn't have had much empathy with your riders then. But now that you've actually learnt to ride as an older rider, you've got a lot more empathy and feeling for those people who don't have confidence.
Yes, definitely.
All right then. That sounds great. About anything else that you want to say about that, or anything else that you particularly like doing?
I do like training horses. I've had a lot of experience with retraining race horses to be riding horses, and I find that any horse that I sell, it usually goes to a child.
Yep.
So, obviously I've come to realise that my method of training is a soft, gentle method. And after all, horses can feel a fly land on them, so why do they need whips and spurs?
Yep.
And, and there's just that gentle method that and children don't have a lot of strength, so, if you're communicating well with your horse, he understands clearly what you're asking him to do.
Okay, now that particular, you're saying I've got a particular method. Is there ever a time that you weren't aware of what the horse required? How did you learn about horses being so sensitive? I just want to hear a little bit about your story and what made you go into the field of training horses, or just something that you would have learned that you'd like to share with the listeners.
I think the first time I really became aware of what I was doing with horses was when Monty Roberts first came to Australia. I realised that we're basically doing the same thing that he's doing. And then you realise that, yes, and why am I doing it similar to the way he's doing it? Because that is how horses learn.
Yes, okay.
The Brumbies taught me so much, just sitting and watching the Brumbies on the island and once they were over here. And you realise that a horse is a horse. The only difference is the sport that they're doing.
Yes, so you're saying the basic training's the same because, as you said, that's how horses learn.
Yeah.
Yep, okay. All right, I want you to tell me now, and this could be either teaching a rider that's not as confident or doing something with a horse or maybe a combination of the two. What's the time, your proudest moment within that? You know, when were you the most proud of what you're currently doing?
Oh, I think it would be with a horse, with one of the Brumby stallions off Fraser Island, when it took me less than 2 minutes to put a halter on a wild stallion.
Okay, and just tell me a little bit about the technique you used. What did you use? A bit about the surroundings, just a bit more about that day.
Okay, well, I probably didn't plan to say I'm going to put a halter on this horse today. It's simply, the Brumbies what are they most familiar with? Bushes, branches off trees, native vegetation. So I didn't get a whip out and a rope and things that he didn't have any idea what they were.
Yep. I
just used a branch. And he just allowed me to touch him all over with the branch. That wasn't scary.
Mm-hmm.
And then he was confident then with me coming closer to him, and I was able to just touch him with the back of my hand. Again, Monty Roberts says, the animals see that the mountain lion isn't going to claw at you while he's licking his paw and has the back of the paw facing you. So, this wild stallion, and then with just the rope in my hand, I was able to put it under his neck and over, and he was quite happy about the whole process. So, yeah, that took about, 2 minutes.
That's great that you had that empathy, but also you're thinking about the horse and thinking about what the horse is familiar with in their environment. So if you went out somewhere else, you may not have a branch, you might have something else that's in their environment they're comfortable with, but a branch from their environment, that certainly makes a lot of sense. Shirley, tell me about, and I could have talked about this before, you said something about overnight rides. What happened recently about your overnight ride?
It wasn't actually a ride. I was on foot. I'd left the horses behind.
Okay, right. You told me about it. Look, keep going with it anyway, because that was an interesting story.
Okay. Well, I was doing a lot of walking to get fit because I'm finding that just riding horses isn't getting me as fit as I want to be to ride the Andy Mountains at the end of the year.
Mm-hmm.
And so my dog that I've inherited, a Ridgeback, and myself set out about 2:00 in the afternoon, and it was drizzling a little bit, but, it was still nice and warm. And I thought, a couple of hours walk, that'll help a lot. So anyway, I went to check some cattle on the southern boundary.
Mm-hmm.
I climbed the mountain just following the cattle trails. And once I'd seen that, yes, there was really fresh manure there, so I knew the cattle I was looking for were in that vicinity, I thought I'll just take a shortcut and head west, which would take me up over the mountain, along the plateau and back home again.
Yep.
And I got to the place where we normally would climb down the mountain,
mm-hmm.
and the Ridgeback that was with me whined and ran away. And she was like, normally she would be out there in front of me showing me the best track down.
Yep.
But anyway, I thought, that's just that, I can't really see what's there because it's all leaf litter.
Sure, yep. So she was telling you something, yep.
Yeah, and I attempted it a second time. I called her back to me, and then I attempted it the second time, and she did it exactly the same thing. She just whined and ran away, and I thought, yep, we'll try and find somewhere else to go down today.
Yep.
It could have been snakes, could have been anything, could have been a landslide about to happen, rock slide, who knows.
So really, you're saying that you're using the same instinct with your dog as what you would with your horses, and really listening to them to see what they're trying to tell you.
I think we all know the story of Black Beauty.
Yep.
And you're a fool if you don't listen to the animals around you.
Mm-hmm.
They have instincts that we've lost, or if we ever had them.
Yep.
Yeah. So anyway, to cut a long story short, we spent the night on the mountain, and this is in the middle of July,
which is winter in Australia. Yep.
And no warm, really warm clothing. And then 3 o'clock in the morning, it decided to rain. So I was very grateful that I'd spent a lot of time as a child out Western Queensland camping out.
Yep.
And knew enough to get myself some branches on to sit on and lay on during the night. So we, got the leaves off the trees and made ourselves a couple of inches of cushioning between the cold ground and myself, and made a bit of a wall around us in case any wild dogs came around in the night.
Yep.
And I picked a tree that I could sleep up against, so I only had to protect the front of us.
Mm-hmm.
It was warm from the tree, and made a bit of a roof lean-to over the top with breaking branches and twining them through. I only had about 10 or 15 minutes to do all of this, so I was really thankful that it's a forested area and we had plenty of trees.
So when you say we, were you with someone else?
Yes, me and the dog.
Good news. Well, it was a good news story because you're here to tell us about it. So certainly an experience, yeah.
And didn't have to face the embarrassment of finding myself on the TV or the news.
So you snuck out of that. Okay. Shirley, what does the future hold for you now?
Oh, gosh. I think just pretty well more of the same. Trying to learn as much as I can.
Okay.
Gosh, I love learning. I love being with the horses. I love seeing other people in getting enjoyment out of riding my horses. And I think just trying to teach other people to be empathetic with the horse and for them to understand how to communicate. Most people you say to, what's communication? And most people will say talking.
Yes.
So few say listening.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Nothing's more important when you're learning horses is to listen and learn how the horse is feeling about what you're doing.
Yeah, so the listening is not just sounds, is it?
No, the listening is like in human language, body language, the eyes, the ears, the tail.
Yep.
Did the horse move away from what you were just doing? Did he move away because you pressed too hard, or did he move away because he really doesn't want you doing that?
Yep. All right. Now that sounds great, and that's a really good message for the horse world. What about a book? Have you got a favourite book that you would like to recommend?
Oh, look, there are so many good books out there, and it really depends on the stage that the individual rider, horse person is at the time.
Yeah, because I get this story a lot that people say, well, it depends, there's no one answer. What's a book then that has really influenced you and your teaching?
I would have to say Monty Roberts and Joiner.
Yep.
Would be one.
Okay, yes.
In latter years, I really like Andrew McLean and Manuela McLean's academic horse training.
Yep, okay, yep.
I love the fact that they're now actually proving with science how horses behave and learn.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. All right, I'll put a link to both those books on the page anyway, but you're very interested in science, so you've got a little bit of a science background?
Yes, I have 2 science degrees, an ag degree in soil and water management,
mm-hmm.
and the ecological management Master of Science.
Yeah, so you can really appreciate then if there's science and experiments, it's not just an old wives' tale. It really is scientific proof this works.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Yeah.
Shirley, if people want to contact you, and especially if they want to go for a ride in the mountains without the overnight trekking, or maybe an overnight trek that can be organised, how can they contact? Or if they're not, would like some confidence with their riding, or would like you to do something with their horse, what's the best way to contact you?
Email is best way.
Okay.
I do have a website and the email address is on there.
Okay. What's the name of the website?
Sceniclodge.com.au.
Okay, we'll put a link to that in the show notes as well. Yep. And your email?
Is Shirley, SHIRLEY, GOTT@bigpond.com.
Wonderful. All right, thanks very much, Shirley. Now, if people have got questions about this episode, is it okay if you come back on and answer some questions?
Absolutely, yes.
Wonderful. All right, thank you very much.
If you've enjoyed this chat, then please comment, rate and subscribe. If you'd like any changes or recommendations for guests, then please contact us through horsechats.com. And while you're online, have a look at the government-accredited courses at internationalhorsecollege.com. Registered Training Organisation 31352.
Remember that our comments and instructions are general in nature and do not take into consideration your individual horses or your individual ability and circumstances. If you enjoyed this podcast, then please leave your comment below.